Hi guys, this is Hero, and today I'm going to be discussing the D40 chart, okay? So just to recap from my D45 and my D60 videos, okay? So in general, the more higher divisional charts you go, the higher numbers that is, the more intuitive charts they are, okay? Yeah, they do affect the material world a little bit as well, but more spiritually than materially. Just like how the D1 chart affects things more about what's happening on the surface rather than spiritually. But the D1 chart also has an impact as well on the spiritual world as well as the other lower divisional charts, okay? Two, the way I do it is I separate all the divisional charts in sections of 12, and each 12 represent the 5 koshas, okay? So till D12, including D12 is the first, and then till 24 is the second, and then 36 is the third, till 48 is the fourth, and then until 60 is the fifth, okay? I explained this, I think, in my D60 video. You can watch that if you get if you're not familiar with how I do that, okay? So knowing that, the D40 chart, it's kind of in the middle-ish beginning of the fourth kosha, okay? So keep that in mind. Now, third thing I want to recap, I mentioned this in my D45 video. There's 3 main spiritual houses, you could say, in astrology, okay? There's the 8th house, the 9th house, and the 12th house. And the 5th house represents intuition. Now, the last 3 divisional charts, 40, 45, and 60, what do you notice about them? Well, 40 is 8 times 5, 45 is 9 times 5, and 60 is 12 times 5, okay? So that should just show you how they're a little bit more connected to the spiritual world as well. And they're the only they're the only 3 charts that are placed in the last 2 koshas, if you're looking at it the way I do, okay? That's that. Now, moving on to the D40 itself. So, like I said, the D40 chart is 5 times 8. So it has a lot of those eighth house kind of energies to them, okay? Now, whenever we think of the 8th house, we think of automatically, something bad, okay? But that's not true. The 8th house, from a material standpoint, it could provide a lot of fluctuations and ups and downs, which we might not kind of like. But from a spiritual standpoint, the 8th and the 12th house are the 2 most powerful. You notice something, right? 8, 9, and 12, and also 5. What do you notice about these 4? The 8th and the 12th are probably the 2 worst houses in the horoscope, okay? The strongest dusthanas. And the 5 and 9 are the 2 best trine houses, okay? So that shows you, no matter whether your spirituality can be learned from, like, quote unquote, the good things or quote unquote the bad things, okay? And obviously all the other houses add their own flavor of spirituality as well. But stereotypically, these 4 provide the most spiritual insight for the general population. So I just wanted to make that point also, that, good and bad things are both going to lead you more towards a spiritual route and detach you from this material world, okay? Now, D40, 5 times 8. So like I said, the D60 is 5 times 12, okay? So it has a lot to do with 12th house energy. So what does 12th house represent? Moksha, enlightenment. So the D60 chart is the planets right at the truest version before the soul energy, okay? So if you kind of understand those and detach from those, moksha would be it's probably the fastest way, in my opinion, to kind of fully detach from this world, okay? I don't like saying the word moksha too much, and then, like I said, the D45 chart, it has a lot of those 9th house energies, okay? The end of the 4th kosha, kind of. So it shows what the planets have come here to learn as far as higher knowledge standpoint, okay? Now, the D40 chart, it's 5 times 8. So this shows what the planets have come here to kind of intuitively learn, okay? Now, the D40 chart and the D45 chart, they're both kind of in that same section that I group the divisional charts in that fourth kosha section. So in eighth and ninth house, they both have a lot to do with with your spiritual progress, right? They're both. So if you look at the Lugna chart in general, the eighth and ninth house, they both represent, the eighth house represents gaining intuition, and the ninth house represents kind of using that intuition to gain higher knowledge. But you need both, right? For example, the ninth house represents gaining higher knowledge. So it's almost going to be impossible to do that or fully resonate with that without that intuition, okay? That's why kind of you take someone to a religious place without any kind of deep spiritual inclination with inside them, they're not going to be too interested. They're going to kind of be like, oh, what is this? Now, I kind of believe that everyone has a little bit of that inside them. So when they walk in, they feel something, but they're not going to feel too much, okay? So the eighth and the ninth house, when you fully master those, the intuitive part and the higher learning part, then you can move on to the 10th and 11th house, which they both have to do with more fulfilling karmas, okay? The natural 10th and 11th signs are ruled by Saturn, okay? But back to the 8th and the 9th. So like I said, the D45, it shows what the planet has. This distinction is very important because it's very subtle but very important from a spiritual level, okay? From a material level, it's almost night and day. But these are spiritual charts, okay? So so like I said, the D40 chart, it's more what the planets are trying to intuitively understand in this lifetime, okay? While the D45 chart is showing what the higher learning is involved, okay? And like I said, this is more of a divisional chart, so that intuitiveness really has to be there a little bit stronger, okay? I'll give you an example. So in the D45 chart, let's just say Saturn's in Virgo, right? So I already kind of gave an example that, let's just say you start a Saturn Antardasha soon. When that starts, you'll notice that regardless of what's happening, just little quotations, what's happening is shown from more from the lower numbered divisional charts, right? But regardless of what's happening, because in the D45 chart, Saturn's in Virgo, you'll notice that you're going to try to learn a little bit more about how that Saturn energies get affected by Virgo energies, okay? You can watch my D45 video if you're a little bit more confused on that. But that's that. Now, the D40 chart, it's showing what intuitively deep more inside that planet is trying to understand related to that sign's energies or that house's energies, okay? Now, the signs and the houses, the signs are pretty much, even if you don't have the exact birth time, you could still look at the signs. The houses, they change, like, I think in the D40 around every 3 minutes, okay? So it's got to be somewhat exact, the time. There's ways you can rectify that, but I'll save that for another video. But but the signs, from a spiritual perspective, are a little bit more important anyways, okay? So just for right now, you can just look at the signs, okay? It's going to take you a little bit longer to develop the intuition. And once you have that intuition kind of within you and kind of see how in these charts, how each of the planets behave in these signs, you'll kind of be able to tell if it's in the right house or not, whether it's one forward or one back or whatever, okay? So like I said, D45 chart, it shows what the planet is kind of learning from a higher knowledge standpoint. And the D40 chart shows what that planet is trying to kind of understand deeper down intuitively, okay? And to understand what I just said, you got to have like a little bit of spiritual intuition yourself, okay? And like I said, the D40 and 45, it's both 5 times 8 and 5 times 9, okay? The 5th house is in both, okay? So the best way to understand this also is to connect with, like, fifth house represents, you could say, past life knowledge and kind of not intuition given to you from your past life. Okay, so you connect with that, that's the best way to understand each of these charts. Okay, but besides that, you also need the energies of the eighth house in order to understand the D40. Okay, once you understand that, once you kind of just connect with yourself, that by that I mean more connect strongly with your fifth house. All these planets and stuff, and all the placements, they'll kind of just start subtly speaking to you and sending you messages about what they mean. Okay, what it's gonna say for you, it's you just have to meditate and do other spiritual practices and stuff in order to gain that intuition. Okay, I wish I could tell you more without being too general or too specific. I don't want to throw you off, but yeah, like I said, inside you is this kind of, you can say, the spiritual internet. Okay, you connect with your own consciousness, you connect with your own fifth house. Everything, you'll be connected to everything. Okay, so yeah, that's pretty much it for this video. Oh, and also one little trick that I just remembered to say related to all three of these charts, the D40, D45, and the D60, is that see what energies are affecting the fifth house in your chart. Okay, 1. 2, if it's the D40 chart, also see what energies are affecting the eighth house. Also, if it's the D45, see what energies are affecting the ninth, and it's a D60, see what's affecting the 12th. Now, for example, the D40, the 5 and 8, see what's affecting those two houses, the 5 and the 8. They both have a lot to do with intuition. Okay, the 5th and the 8th house. So see what planets are affecting those houses, and try to see how you can use those energies to your advantage. Okay, for example, if there's a certain planet, if there's a certain transit, or there's a certain dasha happening that's very prominently for one of those planets. Let's just say you are a Sagittarius rising, and you have Mars in the 5th house in Aries. Okay, this is a good time to this would be excuse me. This would be a strong time to connect with that 5th house energies. Okay, and Mars, it's a natural 8th sign ruler, so it's gonna have a lot of those 8th house energies already kind of encoded into Mars as well. Okay, so this, for example, that kind of time would be a good time to understand the D40 chart. Okay, you want to use the transits and dashas to your advantage also. Okay, you want to use everything in your advantage to kind of just gain that intuition and those subtle knowledges higher and higher. Okay, like I said, astrology, it's a spiritual science. Okay, it's not meant to be, oh, this plus this equals this. Okay, it's like you got to take in all of the information on all the charts to kind of see the spiritual journey. Okay, and I would avoid you not to try to guess materialistic outcomes based off of those spiritual journeys. Okay, yeah, it can be fun and stuff, but once you kind of move past the material outcomes in your own life and kind of detach, you'll be much more focused, in my at least for me, on the spiritual side of astrology. Okay, so that's that. Like I said, the D40 chart, as well as the 45 and the 60, they're only really they're only going to be really prominent if you're somewhat spiritually inclined. Okay, and you have a desire to go down a spiritual path of some sort. Okay, so thank you guys very much. If you have any questions, let me know, and until next time, talk to you guys later. Thank you.